I want to be involved with all of the fun that's surrounding it, and just, I want to feel the way that person's feeling. Wait, how did they get to that point of how they're feeling? You just got to go and do it. Social anxiety. Let's talk about social anxiety. Social anxiety usually starts from a young age because we're ingrained with that thought of fear of wherever we're going to go, of people we're going to talk to, of different situations or predicaments that we may encounter based off of the fact that we're overthinking about it. The way we examine ourselves is exactly the issue as to why we feel this social anxiety, especially as we're older. Like if you go to a party, the first thing you do at the party is saying, oh my God, I can't handle all these people. I'm not outgoing enough. I'm not funny enough. I'm not talkative enough. What am I doing that's wrong? Oh my God. And all you're doing is overexerting yourself. You're working yourself up. You're fucking draining all of that positive energy that you have, and it's just sifting right into the damn pit hole of negativity. You just got to dig yourself out and realize, take a step back, right? Realize that what it is you should be doing is taking a look outside of yourself and seeing, okay, what about these other people? What might Bill Bob over here be thinking and doing or feeling in themselves, right? Don't seclude yourself as if though you are the only one who might be having that sort of social anxiety. I've combated this social anxiety at an early age. So when I say I have anxiety, it's not so much on the social aspect. With the socialization and everything like that, I've been lucky enough to work myself up. But at the same time, it does take a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to break through the boundary and the barrier of all that. But luckily enough, I've been able to do so. In saying that, what it is about us that makes us sink even further is being over-analytical of ourselves, right? We make up the scenarios and create that fear. We insinuate that fear because of things that may or may not happen, rather than dive in nose first to what it is we need to feel in order to know whether or not that anxiety exists. And what you'll come to know when you actually dive into these things and you actually go and you talk to these people and you socialize is that it's not as bad as you might think, right? And of course, there's been this thing lately where a lot of people hide behind the fact, like you see these memes or whatever saying, oh, the difference between an extrovert and introvert, and be like, I'm introverted, right? And you kind of create this little community with you and other people by saying you're introverted, right? By being that shy and reserved type of character. But in terms of that character, examine whether or not, is that actually who you are? Like, are you that person who loves to just play video games in your basement and just chill out, and you just like to be home and just have like a small group of people? And that's totally cool too. But I find that I'd say the majority of people have that want deep down, even on a subconscious level, to want to be social, to want to have that connection. We're all human, right? We're all human beings on earth seek connection in one form or another, right? It all comes together at some point. Dividing yourself amongst a group, saying like, okay, introverted, oh my God, this guy's like me, he's introverted and everything like that, that's so cool. You know, me being shy and reserved and me being kind of in the corner over things is a good thing, right? But are we faking it? Are we putting a mask on? Like, you got to ask yourself whether or not that's what you're doing. Be aware from within yourself if whether or not what you're saying and doing is actually truth. And if you do have those issues, it's okay. It's okay. Everyone has some sort of issue to deal with, and millions upon millions of people deal with social anxiety every single day. And a way to escape that isn't simply by funneling yourself into this category of other introverts where you feel like you fit because you have this sense of community. It's actually in tackling it head on and finding ways to develop your character, right? Finding ways to get your speech to be a little bit more projected, to get that tonality and that rhythm and that vibe to be more uplifting, to be full force, to get into that whole spectrum of, you know what, I can be funny too. I can tell those jokes and feel good about myself while making other people laugh simultaneously. It's about getting into those hard to reach, those dirty areas that you don't at first want to explore, but then cultivating it into something better each time you make that step, okay? Just remember back to, let's say, a time you were at a party, like you went with a whole bunch of people, right? And you felt like, or like one of your first parties that you've ever been to, right? Let's say you're a more social person now. You're very shy, you're in the corner, you don't really want to talk about anything, and anytime someone is like approaching you, you're afraid of what you're going to say, so maybe you'll stray the conversation or how you feel towards a certain topic of something to be in rhythm with what you think might be cool, right? Whereas what you should be doing is going into it with an open mind, seeing as how other people are, right? Every other person is going to be different in their actions, in their words, in their social acuity. Not everyone is going to be obviously cut from the same cloth. And even if they were, a lot of these people could have been having that same similarities as you are right now, but in the past. Analyze what it is, like, why are they having a good time? What is it that makes them more at ease when they're having fun? What is it that is making them let go? You got to create these clouds in your mind of different hypotheses and different ways, hypothesis is weird, and different ways that you can examine it so you can fully understand why you have that social anxiety and how to curb that. Take a look back, let's say, to like 3 or 5 of the closest people in your life. Kind of not place judgment, but like just take a bird's eye view approach. Examine how they are as a person. Like one person's going to be, let's say, a little bit more outgoing than another. Someone is like relatively neutral. Another person is just totally reserved and, you know, just doesn't want to come out of the woodwork. Take it from what it is that you feel about these people from examining them that you find are positives in terms of being more social, and take what you will from it as what they are doing that you would align with not being as social. And then furthermore, from doing this, you can better examine yourself in terms of how you are and where you're at, right? You got to kind of figure out where you're at on that spectrum. Are you starting from ground zero? I highly doubt it. A lot of people have at least some sort of connection or communication among friends, you know, or in certain times where they feel that amped up state of emotion, where they got that positivity flowing and they don't know why they're feeling the way they're feeling, but they're jiving with everything and words are just coming out and they're like, wow, I felt so much more fluid that day. I was just spouting off. I was just doing all this stuff. I love that element, right? Why you're doing this thought experiment is to compare yourself to yourself, but to find out where it is that you're sitting on that spectrum. So then the next time you're at a social gathering, at a party or anything, slowly start to let out that inner fucking beast that you've got, right? Maybe throw a few jokes out there that are just genuine to you, as shitty as it's going to be, right? Whatever the fuck, just flow in with the conversation. If you fumble over your words or if you stumble over it and all that fear has come crashing in, punch that fear in the fucking face and just throw it out there. The worst that happens is you're back stuck to the same place that you were, but most of the time you will find that you felt at least that courage to do it in the first place, which will amp you up even more for the future. And then in different times and situations, you'll slowly rework yourself back up, or up to a level that you didn't think that you could get to in terms of having that social acuity and that social awareness and being involved with the whole situation surrounding you. You will slowly start to weed out any of the weaknesses that you see, because at first, when you're doing that examination process, you will actually adhere to the weaknesses that you do have. You'll be aware of those weaknesses, and once you're aware of those weaknesses, you can curb them. And then you'll further and further have an understanding as to why that other person, why Billy Bob in the corner is having such a better time than I am, and why it's just flowing so much more naturally. And then when you're looking back at it a couple years from now, the more and more that you do this, you'll be saying, okay, why did I feel that way in the first place? I feel so much better like the way that I do now. I'm more outgoing, you know, I'm flourishing in the words and in my vibes, you know, the energy's brought to the room. It's a positive vibe. It's a positive atmosphere. And, you know, you're just exerting all of that and everyone's feeling it at the same time simultaneously. This isn't something that's going to happen overnight, of course, but that's why I say take the baby steps forward. So first and foremost, don't allow that fear to enter where you're going to criticize or be over-analytical and judge yourself consistently on end, and take it from the perspective, hey, I don't know, maybe this person is being fucking torn up inside, even though they're just pushing it out there. Use that as a sense of acknowledge that and use that as a sense of encouragement for you to have the courage to do the same thing. And then when you punch that out there and you just throw yourself through that mental wall that you're putting up with yourself, you'll be able to stimulate yourself a lot easier, and you'll find that you'll be flowing a lot more with the interactions that you have. The more you do this, the more you'll strengthen that mindset, and the more your mindset will be geared towards the social interaction, and the more connection you will have. The stronger the bonds, the better the happiness, the more grounded you'll become with stability. And of course, the fact where you'll be free-flowing and more likely to be in a higher state of being where you won't even think twice eventually about what it is you're doing when you're going into those interactions, right? Now, this isn't going to be all the time, of course, you know? There's always an asterisk next to these things where you're going to be feeling fucking like shit a lot of the time. And again, once again, that is not always the case. But I'm talking about the overall picture, right? The bigger values. What does your value system tell you? Do you have a good surrounding? Do you have a good ecosystem of things that are enriching you to become a bigger and better version of you? So I'd encourage you to take a look back and say, hey, life is short. I'm here right now. There's a whole bunch of people. I want to go and talk to that girl over there. Or I want to go and I want to meet all these people. I want to feel like I'm included in this group. I want to be joined in with all of the... I want to be involved with all of the fun that's surrounding it. And just, I want to feel that the way that that person's feeling. Wait, how did they get to that point of how they're feeling? You just got to go and do it. Okay, that's the first thing. Even if something is holding you back, you're going to get all those feelings of anxiety and shit just in your shoulders, all that tension just down your spine, and you're just frozen. You're almost frozen. And then not only that, on top of that, but you're in your mind, you're like, oh my God, I'm freezing up now. And you're just fucking going further and further down that rabbit hole. So instead of that, your first impulse should be to punch through that fear, to move forward. And in moving forward, you talk to those people that are there, right? Put yourself in their shoes instead of being over-analytical of yourself, and you will slowly be able to guide yourself through the process. Just find a way to implement you into that situation a little bit better, right? It's not going to flow right away, but each time more and more, just say a few things that you wanted to say, right? Let loose a little bit. Bring up a fucking artist that you love, right? Find something relatable among one another. There's no need in faking things in order to make people think you're cool, because you're just developing a false pretense, and then it's almost like you got to keep up this gimmick the entire time, and you're just wasting your time with it anyway. Like I said, life is too short to feel the way that you feel with these things. So it's better to make progress rather than plateau. It's better to make progress rather than to plateau. Keep yourself on your toes rather than on your heels. You're on your heels because of the fact you're letting all of this stuff bog you down. In handling this, how you deal with it is to bring yourself more awareness to the surroundings, not be overly critical of yourself, and to just literally go and do it. See what it is that's making that person feel fulfilled in the area of how you and where you're coming from, to know how to get yourself to feel the way that they seem to feel. And once you get on these topics of relatability, you might find, and you will eventually find for sure, that people are going to open up about the things that they're going through, the struggles and everything. And not only will you get these connections, but you'll get a lot of connections in your life of people that are going through the exact same shit that you are. And you're like, oh my God, not only do you feel better of your approach in making yourself a little bit more social and having that more of that acuity, but now you have that relatability with the person who has actually gone through those struggles, and you can vibe off of them and how they've bounced through it and bounced back and overcome that. Torch that shit up like a fire out of a dragon's ass. Makes no sense, but whatever. You get the point. And no, it's not always this simple. This is just basic groundwork. You have to lay the foundation first before you build everything that you're building. Before you build yourself up to be this superior structure that is stronger and better than how you were yesterday. Compare yourself to you only if you're being fair, but also keep that outside awareness of how everyone else is and what they actually might be feeling behind closed doors. And then just slowly work up to that. Take it one step, just talk to that person about something, throw it out there. Feeling any negative vibes, just kind of laugh it off, right? Force yourself to kind of give yourself a little chuckle or a little, just a little step back where you're like, okay, whatever, just be focused in that moment. Be present to the moment with what's going on, and you will feel a lot more fulfilled even in doing that alone. The fact you got the courage to punch through this fear and to go up and interact with a whole bunch of people in a given situation, and this even goes for online networks, but of course with online and networking through social media, it's a little bit easier to do, arguably, because you're behind like the keyboard and everything like that. But I'm talking more along the lines of face-to-face, right? Because that's the best way you're going to break through the mold and come to fruition to better yourself, and to have those improvements be very apparent, and for you to like kind of look at it and be like, okay, how I handled it this time was a lot better. You know, I went up and I actually interacted with a lot more people. I had a kick-ass time. We listened to some good tunes, like literally just spinning some good tunes, or like, you know, there's like a movie or something on in the background wherever you are. There's something relatable like the hockey game, whatever. You're just throwing a couple words out there. Baby steps, right? You don't look at the summit of the mountain, but rather you look at the feet and the steps in front of you first. You look at the summit of the mountain, you're like, oh, fuck this shit, blah, 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 blah. Fear wins. Fear wins just because it's like, oh my God, I can't reach this point. But if you're just kind of focused on the steps in front of you, you're just in the zone in the moment like that, you're just punching through it, you're going to get there. You will. And I encourage you to do so. And I hope you find that sooner rather than later. Anyhow, I'm not trying to let this drag on too long, but this is just for the basic groundwork of breaking through that social anxiety. And then a little bit later, I will be digging into the deeper meanings behind that and the deeper layers and peeling it back. And then we will go full force into what it means to overcome all of that anxiety and that social anxiety that you're feeling. So with that being said, I hope you guys stay real, and I'll stay caveman.